Now I'm going to teach you what I would consider to be an advanced emotional technique. I read a fascinating book by a guy named Michael Hall about a concept that he calls meta-states. He's a neurolinguistic programming trainer, teaches a lot of things, and he came up with this model that he calls meta-states, and it's fascinating to me. I've gotten a lot of value out of it. And what it basically is an emotional reframing technique where you actually use emotions to reframe each other. And it's pretty interesting. Hall has realized that we humans often wrap one emotional state around another and then another until they're so tangled up that it's almost impossible to fix them. For instance, if you begin to feel jealous of another man who's with the girl you like, then get angry at yourself for feeling jealous because it's immature, then become depressed because you're getting angry at yourself, because it's not helping the situation, then you have depression about anger, about jealousy. These emotions become intertwined in a way that creates a strong web that resists change. If you go to work on the depression, you're only working on one level. And if you haven't changed the underlying jealousy, you're likely to wind up back in the same spot very quickly. Have you had the experience ever of doing this? You know what I'm talking about? Where you're in a situation where something happens, you respond emotionally to it, and then you get mad at yourself or disappointed with yourself for responding emotionally. So you have an emotional response about your emotional response, like anger about jealousy. And then after you go through it, you go through another process where you go, oh man, and you become depressed about your anger, about your jealousy. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about, if you can identify with this, okay? That's complex when that happens because you know what? They're linked to each other. They then start triggering each other. You do these things enough and it starts to form patterns where you go through the same process and it becomes automated. By the same token, you can just skip trying to untangle the various levels and just wrap a positive emotion around the entire bundle, just like you were doing, but this time with a positive one, adding a higher logical level or frame and changing the meaning of the entire lot, changing them all by putting an emotion around all of them. For instance, you might imagine what it would feel like if you were fascinated with your depression, and then you became excited about it. So what if you were sitting there and you were like, man, I'm depressed because I get angry, and I'm jealous. Think about that. I'm depressed because I become angry when I'm jealous. And then you go, you know what, this would be interesting to figure out how this process works. And you become fascinated with your depression about anger, about jealousy. And then you go, you know what, this is interesting. I'm going to figure this thing out. And then you get excited about it. You go, I'm going to figure this out. Now you've wrapped positive emotions around those, and guess what? You've reframed them. This doesn't make logical sense, but I'll tell you what, try it. Try this one. You'll freak yourself out when it changes and you won't even know if you changed how you feel. It'll be confusing the first few times. Imagine what it would feel like to be happy about being annoyed. Close your eyes right now. Do this exercise. Imagine what it would feel like to feel happy about being annoyed. I hear people laughing because it's funny. Imagine what it would feel like to be happy about being annoyed. Come up with some reasons why you could get happy about being annoyed. Being annoyed is great. You know why? Because it shows you a shadow issue, and there's your big opportunity. That's one of those moments where you go, wow, I just got an insight into myself. I can go learn something. Here's something I can develop. Imagine how an emotion like jealousy would be changed by the feeling of joy about it. How could you feel joy about being jealous? What if you wrap joy around jealousy? When you wrap one emotion around another, it forever changes the first. Okay, when you wrap an emotion around another one, it just changes it, and it changes it forever. Changes the situation, changes the emotion forever. Practice wrapping positive emotions around negative ones. And finally,